I'm Scott with ECRM, and I am joined by Jeff Speicher, who is the General Manager of Commercial Contract Services with Avema Contract Services.
Correct.
Thank
Correct.
you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. We are at ECRM's Contract Services program at the Phoenician Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Jeff hosted one of our Thought Interaction pods. Thank you very much. And his title was Preparing for Your CDMO Selection Process. And just wanted to see if you could briefly describe what a CDMO is,
Right.
and how does that differ from a CMO?
Interesting, because that was kind of one of the questions we asked people if they could describe it at the meeting, what a CDMO is. The market is evolving in the contract world from what it was 5 years ago, what it was 10 years ago. And what you're seeing is the increasing number of what they call virtual companies. Companies that really have no infrastructure other than maybe 4 or 5 people, your CEO, your chief financial officer, your science officer, and maybe a marketing officer. Other than that, they have no real infrastructure to support the launch of a product. And what is happening, and obviously here at ECRM, we've seen people come in there like that, companies like that. And what they end up having to do is they actually have an idea. In the generic drug world, which is called an amended new drug application, an ANDA, is a complicated process that starts with one either buying an ANDA from somebody or basically going out and say, I'm going to give a generic drug, let's say aspirin, a generic aspirin. That's synonymous because it's a monograph. But having said you're going after a generic drug, where do you go from there? And you invest in it, you determine what the market value is. Again, these 4 players at this virtual company, and say, this is a great market, we ought to be in this market. Now where do we go? Now, the logical idea is to hire a consultant, which most people do. The consultant might basically take you through the process that you need to do. And ultimately, somewhere in that process, you have to really start doing some physical things, which is basically determining bioequivalency of the active ingredients, making sure the product that you're trying to make a generic of actually matches the national standard of what it should be. That's what the FDA is going to look for. And so what we're basically have offered, and what you see the market is changing to, it used to be the big pharma companies would do all that themselves. The Pfizers of the world, the Abbotts of the world, they had all their infrastructure, they could support that. So with this growing trend of these virtual companies, you don't have that infrastructure anymore. So they go out, and there's a lot of little companies out there that can do this work, like I said, consultants. And so what is happening is companies that sat in on our meeting the other day or the other night, we're experiencing is that we have this synapse between the development of the product and then launching it and moving it to commercialization. The beauty of a CDMO, which is a contract development manufacturing organization, is the marriage of both. You actually develop the product, I always say, from concept, from thought process, all the way through to the commercial launch of the project. So there is no break between the two. What do you accomplish? And as we talked about in the meeting the other night, one is cost, which is a big thing people like. But the more important thing is the synergy between the development and the manufacturing. And so many times, and during our meetings of the night, people gave me horror stories about this breakdown between the development. They develop something on a benchtop, it all works good in a lab, but then they go out to the real commercial world, and there isn't a tank that can replicate what was done on the benchtop. There isn't commercial equipment. If you deal with a CDMO, a good CDMO in the contract area that you want to be in, they all be always looking at how do we manufacture the product. So you have that synergy, as I was talking about. But CDMO, quite frankly, is a contract development manufacturing organization. It's the marriage of both the development group and the manufacturing.
So you talked a lot about the process, for preparing for your CDMO selection. What does that look like? What are some things to consider?
Good point. And one of the things we were talking about the other night, I highlighted the fact is determining the pedigree. And what does that mean? And basically, you're taking a look at a CDMO. Okay, first of all, I want to make toothpaste, a prescription grade toothpaste. So you're going to find out the basic things. Can you make toothpaste? Can you do tube filling? But it's more past that. It's finding out what's the company like? What's your life like in your company? How do you handle managing an outside customer? So mainly what you're basically literally trying to find out, does this company have the background, the pedigree, to totally understand what the process is. In our organization, for example, which I find just so refreshing, we have a large number of scientists that come from the contract pharma world. So right away, they know what needs to be done. So that's finding the right pedigree. That was part of what we were talking about. And so once you find that, then you want to drill deeper. What is the process like? How do you go through it? How do you manage milestones? In other words, really starting to make sure you're comfortable that this person or this company you're dealing with understands the lines of where this project is and where it's going to go.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking part and hosting one of our Thought Interaction Pods again.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
You bet.
Thank you.